What's happening, troops? How we doing? I hope you're well. So, if you don't know me, my name is Bradleywalkr. I'm a personal trainer and online coach from Glasgow, Scotland, as you can probably tell with this rough accent. So today's video is going to be about protein. Do you need it? What is it? How much do you need? What does it do? All that's going to get covered, okay? So just where I've got you here and I've got your attention, okay? So this is actually part of one of my series I'm doing. It's going to be my kind of summer shredding series. I'd be fat bod, okay, 2021. I'm going to be getting shredded for the summer. I don't know about you, but I'm 100% making sure I get to the fucking White Isle and getting a tan, enjoying some sun, music, all that sort of shit, okay? So if you want to get shredded with me, make sure you join along in the series. I've already put 2 videos out, basically to go and get you started, get you set up, tells you what to go and do to make sure you get shredded for the summer. So if you want to get involved, make sure you go check out the videos as well. But let's get back to it, okay? So we're going to go dive straight into this video. So while we're here, hopefully the wind isn't too loud. It's a nice sunny day and I thought, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to sit out the back and enjoy the sun. So let's just start from the start. What is protein? Protein is a macronutrient that can be found in certain foods, okay? Right, you know what, I've decided I'm going to go take this video inside because I can hear surrounding sounds and I don't know if it's going to be in this video and I don't want it to be all that fucking background noise or something fucking cutting our grass, as you probably hear that there. So let's go inside. And we're inside now, thank God. Everybody's cutting our grass. Didn't know I'm trying to make fucking YouTube videos here, man. What's this all about? So what is protein, first of all, okay? So protein is a macronutrient that can be found in some foods. Protein can kind of be known as a kind of like building block of life, okay? Like you need protein for a lot of different things. It goes into, of course, building muscle, different sort of tissue, and it can also be used as an energy source, okay? But I mean energy source, I mean energy you use when you put it in your mouth and your body uses it as energy. So protein does have a lot of uses, okay? And there's a ton of different benefits from having more protein in your diet, which I'll go into later down the line. But just to kind of clear it up, protein is a macronutrient that can be found in certain foods. So next up, who needs protein? Well, in my opinion, pretty much everybody, okay? Protein isn't just important for people who are trying to build muscle or train or whatever. Protein is an essential part of your diet that everybody should be having. Again, it helps with regeneration of tissue, muscle mass, cells, and a shit ton more, okay? So protein is pretty important. Again, a lot of people kind of tend to think it's just important in people who train, but it's not. And another kind of thing I've seen is it's really important for children who are just kind of starting to grow, okay? Again, it helps them build everything in general. Again, it's a building block of life. You need protein to grow, okay? So to summarise that, everybody needs it. But that being said, people who train tend to need it a little bit more. And the main reason why they need it a little bit more is all to do with helping them build and maintain muscle mass, okay? So if you're somebody who goes and trains, you are essentially either breaking down your muscles or training your muscles, okay? If you want your muscles to recover and come back bigger, stronger, faster, whatever it may be, protein is an essential part of that process, okay? Having plenty of protein in your diet is going to basically make it more efficient for your body to properly recover, grow, and again get better, better, and better. So here's just a list of the benefits of eating more protein. So again, it helps increase muscle mass and strength. It's good for your bones. It helps aid in weight loss by helping you maintain more muscle mass. It also makes you feel more satiated when you eat, so basically makes you feel more full because protein's harder to break down in your stomach. As well as that, it also aids in helping you burn more calories as you eat due to the thermal effect of food. So what I mean by that is when you eat protein, it takes more energy for your body to burn it and to turn it into energy than it does, for example, with carbs. So I guess the next question would be, how much do you need? So this is going to vary from person to person and on their goals. So as a whole, there is no one number that everybody should have, that they should do, and it's going to make them have the kind of best results or whatever it may be, okay? Again, it's going to vary from person to person. It's going to vary on their goals and a ton of different factors in that as well, okay? But as you're here, I know you're most likely here trying to build muscle mass or burn body fat, okay? So I'm going to give you my recommendations of what you should do when you're trying to build muscle and then burn body fat. So firstly, when you're trying to build muscle, I would recommend you try and aim for about 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight. So let's say, for example, you're 100 pounds. You would times 100 pounds times 0.8, and that'll work out to 80 grams of protein you'll need in your diet while bulking. Or if you're 200 pounds, it would work out to 160 grams of protein daily while you're bulking. Next up, when you're trying to burn fat, what I recommend you do is work within a range. So I would recommend when you're trying to start burning fat, you work in the range of 0.8, but the further you get into your diet, you start to up your protein more and more, because the deeper you go into a diet, the more you'll need protein to help maintain muscle mass, and it'll help you burn a little bit more calories, as we discussed, due to the thermal effect of food. So the ranges I kind of recommend you walk in between throughout a kind of dieting stage, cutting stage, shredding stage, whatever you want to call it. Start off at 0.8 grams per pound of body weight, then go up to about 1 gram per pound of body weight, then eventually go up to about 1.2 grams per pound of body weight. So for example, I'll just use somebody at 100 pounds as a good example. So they'd start off on 80 grams of protein, then go up to 100 grams of protein, and then go up to 120 grams of protein. That's how simple it is, okay? So these are just my recommendations. Again, other people might give you different figures, but this is what I've just personally found works with me and with my clients. There also is some sort of research as well to kind of back these, but again, all research, bear in mind, it's not 100%, so there will be varied arguments, but again, that's just what I'm going to recommend that you do. Next up, can you have too much protein? So, in short, yes, right, okay, so if you have too much protein, no negative effect is essentially going to come from it, other than maybe a little bit of acidicness in your stomach because it's an amino acid. But there's only going to be so much protein that your body is essentially going to kind of need to help maintain the muscle mass, and then after a certain point it's just using it as energy, okay? So there can become too much protein, but again, that figure is going to depend a lot upon you, your goal, etc, etc. Next up, you might be asking, why do you need more while you're in a dieting stage rather than when you're bulking? Because when you're bulking, you're eating more carbs and fats and they're protein sparing, so that basically means you need less to help maintain and build more muscle mass, which is strange. You'd usually think if I'm trying to build muscle mass, do I not need more protein? The answer is no. While you're in a diet, you do need more protein though, because while you're dieting, your body wants to just chip away your fat and also your muscle mass because it needs energy from somewhere, and then it's an immediate energy stores. So the more protein you have in your diet, it tells your body to say, here, keep the muscle mass and just eat the fat, okay? That's it. Relatively summed up, and it's not the exact science of it, of course, but that's why you need more in a diet. Next up we have, when do you need it? Now again, there's two answers kind of to this, okay? So first of all, when you need it is essentially each day, okay? So I would recommend to somebody who's just starting out, focus mostly on your total daily intake, meaning how much you have throughout the full day. So it doesn't matter if you eat it all in the morning, all at night, all in the middle of the day, spread it out, whatever it may be. When you're first starting out, I'd say just again, focus solely on your total daily intake. If you're somebody who's a bit more advanced though and you're looking to build as much muscle mass as possible and try and optimise your muscle growth, what I recommend you do is try and spread it out evenly between 4 to 5 meals per day. I believe 5 meals is the most kind of optimal way of having it. But again, if you can imagine, total daily intake is going to be, let's say, 90% of it, and then the 5 meals a day is going to be to 100% optimal, okay? So don't fucking sweat it too much if you don't spread it out throughout the 5 meals per day. It's all about total daily intake, kind of overall. Again, the more advanced you get, but the more you want to optimise your training, I guess, right? Next up, I would say as well, over the 5 meals, if you're going to go, try and do it over the 5 meals. Try and spread it out as evenly as possible throughout the day. So for example, if you need 150 grams of protein throughout the day, 30 grams of protein per meal. Again, that's the kind of most optimal way you can do it, but at the end of the day, it's all about total daily intake. That being said though, there is 2 meals that I find are super important to make sure you've got enough protein in, and it's all to do around your training, okay? First of all, before you go and train, you want to have a meal with a relatively good serving of protein to help, one, maintain muscle mass while you're in and training, and again, to kind of spread it out nice and evenly. And then after that, the next thing you want to do is make sure you get a good serving of protein straight after you go and train, okay? So, after you go and train, I would say try to be within about an hour after training, okay? If you don't get that, it's not the worst thing in the world, but again, it's just going to be better if you get that within about an hour, half an hour after you train. And again, in both these meals, I would say have about 30 to 40 grams. Next up, I want to kind of talk about something, the 30-minute anabolic window. This is something you probably heard if you're new to training, okay? Some people think they need to have a protein shake straight after the gym, or else you're going to lose all the muscle mass, and that is not true, okay? Yes, if you have protein straight after you train, your body's going to take it in much better, and it does definitely need it, but it's not going to be the worst thing in the world if you have to maybe wait half an hour to an hour, or whatever it may be, okay? But again, for the most optimal results, have it as soon after training as you can, and of course you'll be fucking hungry, so why not go and give yourself it? Quick little thing I just kind of want to talk about while I'm on that subject. Do you need to have protein during your training? In short, no. Some high level bodybuilders will have protein in during the workouts, an intra-workout drink they would call it, but for the general person, it's just not important. I got asked that off one of my clients and I just thought I'd address that issue right here. Next up we have where to find protein Now this is probably going to be a controversial one because we have all these different kind of diets in the world now and they all say, no, I'm the best, whatever, right, okay. To me the best diet is the one that suits you and you can sustain, that is also nice and balanced, but I'm kind of on that as well. So you want to make sure you're getting enough vegetables in, enough vitamins in, enough minerals in, enough carbs, fats, all that sort of stuff. They're all important, but again, certain diets will sort of demonise certain foods. So the best places, in my opinion, where you can find protein is going to be animal products. Now I know I'm going to get some hate off vegans or whatever for this, right, but at the end of the day it doesn't matter, okay. Where I find the best sources of protein are going to be animal products, mainly animal meat. The reason that is because the animal meats give you something called complete amino acids. So if you can imagine, it's got all the amino acids you need in there, in that portion of meat to optimise kind of muscle growth and protein synthesis. Whereas in maybe, for example, a vegan alternative or maybe a plant alternative, they have something called incomplete proteins. So they basically don't have everything exactly that you need in that sort of serving. Vegans do tend to miss out on some essential amino acids just due to their diet intake, but at the end of the day that's down to their own choice, and I'm sure they will argue that they get them in, but it's pretty impossible to get in some stuff from a vegan diet because you solely only get it from animal foods. But at the end of the day, if you're vegan, that's completely up to you, and I definitely see the vegan diet as having some benefits to it as well. Meat intake for most people is really, really high, so I would recommend you try and get some plant alternatives in there if you can. So my top 5 protein sources that I would recommend is going to be turkey, chicken, fish, eggs and protein powder. Now the reason I've said these 5 are for a multitude of reasons, right? So firstly, these ones are usually the highest sort of protein you can get per like bite, if that makes sense, okay? So for the size of the meat or the serving or whatever it may be, there's a lot of protein in that. So for example, if you compared like a chicken breast to some rice, the chicken breast is going to have about 25 grams of protein for about 130 calories, 150 calories. And a packet of rice, for example, is going to have about 8 grams of protein for about 400 calories. So as you can see, the chicken would have a shit ton more protein in it. Turkey is really, really high in protein as well. So turkey's actually a little bit higher in protein than chicken. Fish again, some fish are higher than others. The reason why I mentioned protein powder in there is because it's actually one of the cheapest forms of protein you can buy, okay? So for example, if you buy a tub of protein powder, for example, Kettle Power Protein Plus, this tub's going to cost you about £30, and in that you're going to get about 30 servings, right? And each serving, so if you can work that out, if it's £30, right, you get 30 servings, that's £1 per serving of protein, okay? For £1 you're getting 25 grams of protein. Whereas if you compare it to a chicken breast, depending if you're going organic or out of a shop or whatever it may be, it's a lot more expensive per gram of protein, okay? So that's why I mentioned protein powder in there. So if you're somebody that's maybe a student, young person, whatever it may be, and you're on a kind of budget, protein powder is definitely a shout for you to go and opt for. I will put a kind of discount code down below for the Kettle Power Protein if you're interested in checking that out. I highly recommend the raspberry swirl flavour, by the way. It tastes just like an ice cream off the van. Another question I always get about protein powder is protein powder necessary for building muscle mass? And the answer is no. Protein powder is just there for convenience. So for example, say you're heading to work in the morning and you want to have a good serving of protein with your breakfast, it's a lot easier to drink a protein shake on the way to work than it is to sit and eat a chicken breast first thing in the morning or eggs first thing in the morning. So a protein shake is just there for convenience, and again it's a little bit cheaper as well. So protein powder is not necessary, it's just there for convenience. So to summarise, what is protein? A macronutrient. Who needs it? Everybody. How much do you need? It depends on you, your goal and a couple of other factors. When do you need it? Every day, throughout the day. Where to find it? In a lot of different foods, but my personal opinion, the best ones are animal products. And what's it do? A shit ton of things, but it helps you mostly maintain and build muscle mass, and that's what we're all here for, isn't it? Hopefully there's no sweat patches under there. So next up I'm going to touch on a couple of questions I got just when I kind of asked on my social medias what questions people have in regards to protein. So let me just see what we've got here. So the first one is, what is counted as high protein in foods, or is it just a selling point? So this is a good question. To me, a high protein meal or food would be, say, 25 plus grams of protein per kind of meal, right? So 30 I would say is like the minimum I kind of tend to go for per meal. 30 to 40 to me is a good range of protein, but also he says, is it just a selling point? So you'll see foods like Weetabix protein, and it says great source of protein, but realistically it's no, it's just a selling point. There's barely any protein in it. If you compare most, like say for example Weetabix versus Weetabix protein, there's like 2 more grams of protein per serving. Same with peanut butters. I've actually got one that's only 1 gram more, it says protein plus. It's honestly, it's mad, right? They just use it as a selling factor. They can fucking make a Mars bar, put protein powder in it and charge £2 extra, so it's just a selling point. It's a big hype point about it. Next up, another question I have from one of my clients is, what's your thoughts on taking a protein shake during a workout? So we already covered this, but realistically what I would say is no, you don't need to take it. It's just not needed, it's overkill. And the last question I got on this is, how to determine how much protein you need in a day, and how often should you change it depending on your weight going up and down. So again, that's been addressed in the video. I know the person doing this is in a diet. You would change your protein intake in your diet when you're starting to get maybe a stall in fat loss, maybe you're hitting a plateau where you're at, and as your body fat comes down, you'll need a little bit more protein in your diet. But that is all on protein. Hopefully you enjoyed that video. If you did, please give it a like. And if you have any questions, please comment them down below and I'll be glad to answer them. Thanks for watching the video and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.